Can AI be a personal assistant for your fictional writing? I'm seeing a lot of pushback on social media about having AI do the work of creatives, or that it's just hype, or that it's worse, a tool for plagiarism. As someone who spent a lot of time writing in his professional career, from video and film scripts to writing white papers and articles, I wanted to test ChatGPT 4 and to see if the skeptics have a good reason to dislike AI in their creative writing. In this video, I want to show you how I used AI to rewrite a short film that I made years ago. I'll show you how I think AI tool like ChatGPT is a tool that you actually do want to use when you're writing, and also where the flaws are, because it definitely has some issues. Quickly about my old film, a 12-minute romantic comedy about Neil, who's played by the talented Philippe Spall, about an introverted artist and illustrator who randomly becomes the star of a reality TV show called Face of the Day, just as he's about to meet his online date by the name of Kate. His quiet life turns into a public circus as he must navigate his sudden fame to make a meaningful romantic connection under the relentless gaze of fame. Many writers start their stories by developing first their main characters. So I wrote my character profile of Neil, the main character, Kate, the love interest, and Zoe, who is the presenter of Face of the Day TV show. I wrote a story outline, so a paragraph about what the story is about and what happens. So Neil is busy in his quiet life. He's put on the spot by Kate, his online date, who wants to finally meet Neil. He has been okay with just talking on the phone, but she tells him she wants to move on. So he offers to meet her the following day, and she hesitantly agrees. The following day, he goes out to get his haircut, but discovers that he's been randomly chosen the Face of the Day, which is a show that chooses random people to become famous. Contestants try to stay the face for the most amount of days by pleasing the general public, who vote the contestants to stay in or out based on their performance. The contestant that lasts the longest wins the prize. Neil freaks out. He doesn't want any of this. He runs away from the crowd that's gathered to take photos of him and finds himself facing obstacles that threaten his chance of getting to his date. He finds himself feeling trapped in his own apartment and tries to call a helpline, but speed dials a pizza delivery company by mistake. Coincidentally, that provides him an opportunity to escape the crowds that have gathered outside his apartment and get to the date happily on time, but dressed as a pizza delivery guy. I blocked this story out using the classic 3-act structure, where Act 1 takes up about 25% of the story, Act 2 will take up 50%, and Act 3 another 25%. I'll block in the story setup, the inciting incident, issues the ultimatum to Neil, and then the plot points. Neil becoming instantly famous is plot point 1, then obstacles that arise from that, and then reaching a climax and an ending and a resolution. I can now take the file that I've created of my character profiles and the story outline that I've written and load it into ChatGPT. So inside ChatGPT, I can upload that file and then also prompt it for what it is I want it to do. So in this case, I'm asking it to write a fleshing out of the story outline into a script form. My goal isn't for the AI to write for me, but if it's an assistant, if it can act as an assistant, your idea generations can really speed up. So as you see, it's written much shorter than it should have. It's given me a very basic breakdown of the script. In this case, it wrote only the first act just to see if I'm okay with the first act. I wasn't okay with it. It was too short. And so it's probably because my prompt wasn't asking for it for more detailed fleshing out. In my outline, I've written that Act 1 needs to be 1,000 words, Act 2, 2,000 words. And no matter how much I push it, it would maybe add 200 words. So that's a kind of a bit of a flaw currently in the language models. And actually, it's better to focus on parts of the script, parts of the story. Quickly, I saw that I could write with ChatGPT and get good ideas that I wish I'd had when I made this film. ChatGPT was able to do so very well, actually. That added comedy, surprisingly, comedy into the story that I can just pull out, copy and paste them into my script. So for example, in the beginning, Neil has to decide on the venue of the date. He starts looking through flyers in random takeaway restaurants. And so ChatGPT gave me a funny name called the Giggling Squid. That gives me a sense of, okay, let's brainstorm just what's the name of that restaurant. Another good idea that ChatGPT gave me is that it made Neil go into the barbershop. In the original script, Neil reaches the barbershop and kind of plays with his hair, imagining how he would look with a nice, cool haircut. But ChatGPT gave me this scene within the barbershop that created a really good comedic potential. Starts having a haircut. The barber actually interacts with him, asking him, trying to look sharp. Hey, got a date? And Neil's like, yeah, something like that. And then halfway through his haircut, customers of the barbershop, the people around on the streets who've recognized him, are now inside the barbershop taking photos of him. Suddenly he realizes he's face of the day. He doesn't want this attention. It freaks him out and he rushes out of the barbershop. So now for the rest of the film, he's going to have half a haircut. It's something I wish I'd done because it creates that comedic effect. He's going to be thinking, oh boy, am I going to be going to a date with half a haircut? The audience is going to be thinking that. And that potential comedic situation is now baked in so that we can play with it for the rest of the film. Here's an example of a situation that I can pull out of this, go back to my script, paste it in, and start using that and writing around this new idea that I got. Another thing I noticed about working like this, as expected in the creative process, my own mind is starting to think of new ideas. So then I go back into ChatGPT and I can say, hey, why don't we change the ending? He ends up having a date with just people surrounding him, just watching them and listening in. That actually was generated by just me interacting with ChatGPT. A new ending, a more pleasing and more satisfying ending, I would say. What I like, basically, the whole process of working like this is that it really got the creative ideas going. I could see I could spend a lot of time with this to just create a lot of little scenes and then basically like Lego decide which do I add into the script and how do I place them with each other and create the whole story out of it. So it definitely was a fun process for me. Now, one of the flaws I noticed, or the big flaw I noticed with ChatGPT, and I'm sure it's kind of true with most language models, even though it's able to look back in the history of the conversation, the way that AI works today, these language models, is that they're predicting the next words, the next pieces of data, let's call it. It's not very good, and it's not good at all, actually, in taking all that you've discussed with it in the past to set them in stone. So it's always making it new things up again and again. Even though you've given it clearer instructions in the past, it starts hallucinating, what it's called, or it seems like it forgets what you've been writing about. Even though it remembers the general story and knows about Neil in this case, it knows the story, it knows if you ask it specifically to look back at a scene that you were working on and to rewrite it or give a new idea, it'll be able to do that. One of my pieces of advice is to work on chunks of your script. The parts that you like, just copy those elements, go back into your script, paste them in, rewrite the file that you're working on, and then load it back into ChatGPT and kind of start again. Let's start a fresh conversation. Have your prompts ready for that, of course. And then work on a different part of the script and give it clear instructions again. And basically you'll see happen is you're iterating, your story starts filling up, you're getting clearer direction of where the script's going. You're not working on the script as a whole in one conversation. You're going back and forth with ChatGPT as your script starts becoming more fleshed out. It's something that, again, helps me at least kind of play with the scene. I can decide, does this fit the overall structure? And again, I'm working to a 3-act structure, 25% in the beginning, 50% in the middle, 25% at the end. I can play with that a bit, but I want to keep the pacing going. And I think this is a really good way of writing. I would be pushing the skeptics to work in this way because it just allows them to be more creative. There's nothing here about plagiarism. If it's gotten ideas from the internet or the world, then that's how we as humans operate anyway. I understand the skeptics. I understand that this hesitancy to use something that you don't know where it's getting its ideas from, where it's wording from. But there's no way that there's a scene just like this. Or it might be something similar, but there would be no risk here. And all it's doing is allowing my brain to get into a creative mode of thinking. And honestly, I felt like just to keep going and seeing what new ideas come. So I really recommend working in this way if you're a writer, If you're writing fictional work, write out your outlines, create character profiles. You can be in separate files that you can upload into ChatGPT. You can load in Claude. You can load in Gemini. You choose the chatbot that you want to work with. If you feel like something's taking too long, you can literally ask ChatGPT, can you find a way to rewrite this scene in a shorter manner? Let's kind of see if we can heighten the drama in a much less, with less words. And just keep focusing on parts of the story that you feel that you need to develop further. And I think it's a great tool for writers. Another argument that I always have with people is that the human brain is always copying. I mean, creativity, art, writing, making movies, it's all, Tarantino, he doesn't plagiarize, but he definitely uses ideas of others and he openly admits it. And all the big directors do. If ChatGPT is just using influence from the human experience and then we're using it to create with, then there's no difference between what we already do. So I hope you agree that AI is there just to assist us. It's not there to do the work for us. It speeds us up. It's more efficient. It makes it more fun to brainstorm. So if you agree or don't agree, let me know. If you like this video, click like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. So thanks for listening and see you next time.